right, now we are back at episode 5 of the Split Screen Experience, joined by my ever talented co host,
Armin.
and today we bring you some interesting conversation pieces. So, what are you playing right now?
I've still been playing Baldur's Gate.
Nice.
I've beaten it, but I just can't feel like I want to put it down just yet. I want to do some things I might have missed in my first run and do choose some other choices that I also felt like doing but didn't because was playing the good guy in my initial run. But how about you?
Well, I just recently finished my first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, so we'll get a round of applause from the audience that we can't hear right now. So I'm currently giving that a little bit of a break. I've been trying to finish up the New Game Plus for Alan Wake 2 because it's a cool New Game Plus, but it is a very big time commitment because it's literally replaying this game over again, which isn't like a new concept, but you don't feel wildly stronger than the opponent, so you're basically just playing the same game twice, but with more story changes. But it's been a lot of fun.
No, so it's not like Elden Ring where I do New Game Plus and I just beat down all the bosses that beat me up my first playthrough.
Right. Like you have some elements that carry over, like over the course of the game, you unlock weapons that you can find. Well, you find weapons that you can unlock. Um, and so at the start of New Game Plus, they'll be waiting for you in the inventory system, which is called the shoebox. So if you go to it, you can pull out like the character Saga has a crossbow, Alan has a shotgun, that kind of. Well, they both have shotguns, but that kind of deal where you can retrieve those weapons, but it doesn't feel like you get just such a massive spike. Like yeah, Elden Ring going back to Margit, you kind of stomp him.
Yeah, I felt that way when I first played. Got my butt kicked to Margit for a bit because I've not really played much of the From Software games. But then once I beat the game and came back, he was a pushover.
Absolutely. When you have like 60 levels on them or whatever, like, or more.
That you have your end game summon
Mm-hmm.
and then all the spells or weapons that you could ever want.
And leveled up weapons at that, so they're +9 or whatever. Like,
Yeah, it's just not a good time for those early bosses once you get that New Game Plus.
no, it is a revenge quest at that point. And you just pop back into the fog gates and you're like, hey, remember me?
Although now I'm kind of screwed myself because I'm still missing an ending. I'm missing Fia's ending,
Oh yeah.
and I kind of just spent my last two runs of the game seeing how fast I could clear it. So now I'm
Mhm.
on New Game Plus 6, and I'm no longer being as strong as I once was.
Right.
They're starting to kick my butt now.
Yeah, they definitely start to catch up to you on the back end of the New Game Pluses. Which,
It's
hey,
good.
speaking topical, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC trailer came out this morning. At the time of this recording, that is. That was really cool.
I did see that. I did see that. I'm hopeful with how it went. The game went, and how it won Game of the Year. Thank God it won. I can't really see them messing up, but at the same time, I can see them messing up and kind of under delivering because of how massive it was from the start.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with the expectations are there now versus like Elden Ring had expectations going into it, um, but like completely surpassed their series highs with that game. Like Elden Ring is the definitive From Software experience now until we get something else in the main line. I know they had that new Armored Core game. I haven't played it. I'll get around to it at some point. I could see it dropping the ball a little bit.
The highest hype or gameplay that the initial game got.
Yeah, because at this point, like I know we talked about off camera, but or off microphone, but there's a very good chance that this will be the only DLC for it, so it needs to be a good one. Versus if you have like a content pass for a game, as long as like a couple of them are decent and the last one's good, it will be looked on favorably. Versus if you have one that's bad, that's kind of a hard one to come back from.
I agree with that. Although I just don't agree with how expensive the DLC is.
I don't like it. I understand because I think didn't we hear through the grapevine like when the game was like fairly new that I mean it's still fairly new, but like more and more recent. We heard there was going to be two DLCs and then they merged into one big one.
You might be right on that.
'Cause I feel like I'm hearing obviously that was rumor, speculation, someone lying on the internet. You know how it is. It's obviously we don't have an inside scoop. Not at this point. In the future, though, we'll be right in there with the industry insiders. But yeah, like, because at that point, if it was two DLCs that became one, that means each DLC was a $20 expansion. We're just gonna have one $40 expansion, so it
It's still
probably
not.
balances out. But
That's not that bad then.
because I'm expecting this to add like a good amount of content, like I'm talking, I would fully expect at least 10 more bosses, that kind of thing. Because I mean, also the reason why it's going to be more expensive is because it's going to be like an open world map expansion. To my understanding, at least, it has to be kind of. I don't think they're going to go back to the very linear strategy of Dark Souls. They're going to give you, yeah, you reach out for someone's hand and it takes you to underneath the Erd tree, like this dark dimension, whatever, and you'll have a new area to explore. So that obviously took time to make. Maybe at one point there were going to be two zones down there that you unlocked at different times with each expansion dropping, and now it's just going to be one big map drop, but we'll see. I hope they don't go back to the Dark Souls for me. I like Dark Souls. I think Elden Ring is definitely the step in the right direction, though. I like the open world. It just feels better, flows better. It's a game that actually takes advantage of it in the modern era, which is hard to say for most other titles that try to be open world.
Yeah, I can't really speak much on Dark Souls. Played very little of all of them.
I played the most of 1 and 3. 2, I stand by, is not this horrible game that people make it out to be, but 3 is the best one. Like, just does everything the other two did, but right. And then, like, avoid some of the pitfalls, especially like the first game. I've been trying to replay that lately, and it's just. I got stuck in the Tomb of the Giants or whatever, giant grave. I forget what that place is actually called. It's a nightmare spot. 12-year-old me hated it. 22-year-old me hates it.
Let's hope that they get it right and we can still enjoy a From Software game until the next
Like
one comes out.
I think it'll be at least decent. I hope for it to be great, considering it's been in development for this long. I mean, it's an expansion that's being developed longer than some games are. Because I mean, they started working on this. They had to have this at least going. Because what from like I mean, so Elden Ring came out what 2 years ago?
Yes, 2022.
Yeah. So 2 years. Even if we said 6 months after launch, because they had like that arena update that like no one really played. It has its fans, I should say. Let me rephrase that. It has its fans. It's just not for everyone. It's definitely not for me. Um, so let's say a year and a half of development already, and it's not coming out till June 21st. That's basically a 2-year dev cycle on a DLC, and that's impressive. So if they spent that much time and it sucks, then I don't have much for them. I don't have any excuse. Like
It can't really do much if it does.
in other gaming-ish news, the Borderlands movie trailer also dropped today.
That it did. I'm more hopeful after seeing the trailer. I know you said off microphone that you don't have the highest hopes for it, but it kind of got me feeling a little bit better about the movie than what I initially was feeling before going into it.
The overall movie, I think, might not be the complete dumpster fire I was expecting. I should have rephrased that. That like the movie itself, I think will be fine. I think it will be kind of in the vein of like the D&D movie, where if you're a fan of the franchise and the material, you'll have a good time. If you're not a fan, you could still enjoy it and have a pretty good time. I think they're going for that approach. I still have my reservations about certain castings. Again, Jamie Lee Curtis from the rip when she was announced for Tannis, I loved that. I love Jamie Lee Curtis and everything she's in. Die hard OG Halloween fan, and I think she's really good. She fits that character so well. She can play this like the smart aleck, Doctor Tannis, and it works. She looks like her enough to where I'm like, yeah, that works. That makes sense. The girl for Tina is a pretty solid actress despite being so young. She was in the Barbie movie, and she was like the kid of the main woman that wasn't Barbie, like the real human woman. So she kind of had this like snarky, like preteen, early teenager, like kind of, oh, come on, mom, that kind of attitude. So I thought she could maybe bring that over to Tina. The trailer doesn't really give me Tina's energy from the games, which is unfortunate because I think for most people she's definitely a highlight of two. But the movie itself, I think will be fine. Just that one I'm worried about because that's such an important character for them to get right for my personal experience.
I do want to highlight. I think I was actually kind of surprised with how Jack Black sounded for Claptrap.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know it's a robot. You just make his voice digitized and call it good. But I think I'm gonna enjoy him playing Claptrap more than
Yeah. No, I think he's a great actor because like he fully commits to the bit when he does anything. Like when he was Bowser, he fully like brought his A game. Like, and then for him for Claptrap, I mean we've already seen what the low bar is, and that's for me at least. Borderlands 3's Claptrap replacement is awful. I do not like it. I think the Jack Black version is going to end up being better than that one. like like the scene where they showed off in the trailer where he's like dumping the excess lead. He's taking a crap, but it's fun. He's like, "Don't look at me." Actually, no, look at me. It helps. Like I was like, oh, okay, maybe this will work.
right. He embodies whatever character he is playing at that time.
He's a very dedicated actor. Is probably the best way I'd put it because like he doesn't just. I've never seen him in a role where I'm like, this was definitely just for a paycheck. I don't think. There's maybe one. I like maybe Gulliver's Travels, but that might just be that movie's bad. Poe for Kung Fu Panda. He fully commits to that, and he gives it his all, like he's going for an Oscar. And I mean, he's probably should have won one for that kind of stuff by now, but that goes. So I hope he continues to deliver. That one scene made me hopeful. I'm hoping that's not like the only scene with him. I mean, they showed him with that, and then when they shove him down the hole,
Yeah, Kevin Hart's Kevin Hart.
right?
He'll bring some moments, and there'll be moments he doesn't bring. Kind of roll with him.
Stand by it. Should have been Terry Crews for Roland, but I'm willing to give Kevin Hart a shot. That's all. Like I'm not gonna go into that movie being like he's gonna suck. I'm willing to be wrong, but
Much rather be wrong and enjoy it.
because I'd rather be happily wrong and surprisingly enjoy myself versus go into a movie and be like this is gonna be terrible and then it is terrible. Like I would much rather just be like, oh, I'll retract that statement. He was actually a great fit for that role or whatever. Or this movie was actually really well written. But
Find out until it officially comes out
August 9th.
August 9th.
So
Can officially watch the Borderlands movie.
yeah. It is still a weird project to take on. Like I know we both enjoy Borderlands. Not everyone. I mean, obviously there are people who enjoy Borderlands outside of just me and you, but it feels like a very interesting pick for an adaptation where we're still kind of figuring them out as like a industry for like film, TV, whatever. It's a very bold decision to pick Borderlands, but I think it might pay off for them again if they take the D&D movie approach where they don't stay too hard on the source material. You have to stick to it enough. You can't do what Halo did, but you have to make it more applicable if you're trying to go into the box office. You have to make it, more accessible, you know, more broad and more reach. So that way more people actually enjoy the movie and are willing to go see it.
Also, more gaming news this week because this week has just been filled with it. The original Battlefronts are going to be making their way back to console with like actual servers.
Yeah. and it will kill the new ones.
Correct. Because 64 multiplayer, you're going to see a lot of people, myself included, loading up those games and playing a game that they loved playing growing up.
Yeah, it's again, I don't know how much we know about the project. I know that like they're making the DLCs available on all platforms because I didn't even know. You told me about it this a while ago. This is a two-part I didn't know. I didn't even know that there was like a Ventress DLC and Kit Fisto and stuff for 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You told me about that and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even realize that." I think that was when I was really playing that, I was in the era of not really understanding DLCs. And then um I didn't know they were Xbox exclusive.
Oh, they are? I didn't know they were
That's
Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, that's I literally when I was reading that tweet that's when I was like, oh, they're bringing these back to modern consoles. They said, yeah, the formerly Xbox exclusive DLCs will be making their way across all platforms. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I didn't even know we had it and it was exclusive. But I think it'll be good. It gives another generation a chance to join in for the first time or to get back into it if you're an older person like us. You know, we're old and it will, yeah, definitively kill the modern Battlefront 2, which is kind of sad, but EA already did that a while ago when they pulled the plug on them to go work on the hit game Battlefield 2042.
Which is fine now. Just had the worst launch in history.
Yeah, it's and like yeah, I've heard people say it's fine, but like, is it good though?
Like this was their year when it came out. It was their year to surpass Call of Duty again, like with Battlefield 1.
Mm.
And they didn't do it. They couldn't do it.
No, I agree with that statement 100%. I remember telling you and other people, I was like, yeah, I really feel like this year, because like Call of Duty's like, yeah, we're doing Vanguard. I'm like, this game looks bad. Like, everyone kind of knew that Vanguard was going to be bad. And they were like, yeah, that's it. They're done. Let's all get 2042 and we're going to have a way better time. And then 2042 came out and yeah, it just servers didn't work, glitchy, buggy, not very balanced, some weird server issues. It just, yeah, and it's like, I've heard it's stabilized now, but I'm like, is it as good as like launch prime Battlefield 1? That's my bookmark for good Battlefield memories is that was a really good high.
So when I got Battlefield 1 for the first time, I remember absolutely falling in love with it. It was
Mhm.
just it was bloody, it was gritty, it was like World War I. You had your no man's land, you had everything you could ever want in a war game happen.
You had a wide map selection. I mean, you had like because you went from like the desert to Europe and like all these different things, and like they all felt very different, and it felt more unique than like Battlefield 5 at a certain point. There's a good handful of maps that all blend together, and I can't distinguish them in my mind. But one, oh, what a game!
I will say though, the DLCs do kind of suck for Borderlands or not Borderlands, Battlefield,
Oh
because
yeah,
I don't think anyone like they even made them free at one point, and I think that's the only way people actually were playing the maps.
didn't they only add 2 that were actual map ones? Weren't the other 2 just like other like random things, like weapons or something? I think one was like a Soviet one.
Yeah, I know one of them was definitely in Russia,
Yeah.
and I wanted to play it, and then one of my buddies was like, "Yeah, no one plays that map. Like, is it bad?" And they're like, "No, no one plays DLCs."
Hmm. That's too bad.
But I could still get even to this day, I could still get lobbies for like the Italian map up in the mountains.
Oh
That's
yeah.
I think is what it's called.
That game was so good. Like obviously like I know you and I both played like older Battlefields like Battlefield 4, you know, Bad Company, those kinds of games, but Battlefield 1 in terms of modern, somewhat modern games for them that has to be the peak. Like it's not even close.
I would agree. Only so much better you can get. If they would have just kept the same formula, they would have been fine. But
No, they wanted to shake it up.
Fortunately, didn't, and we've had a mediocre Battlefield in 5 and an even worse one in 2042.
And like, I might be off base with this assumption, but like, it's just an observation I'm gonna throw out there. It just kind of weird though that the two most recent ones are mediocre or bad, and they had each one had a mode other than the main game that they were worried about. Like five had was it Firestorm?
Yeah, they're battle royale.
Yeah, which didn't need to be there, but they were just trying to jump in on the craze. Which again, as an industry, we need to learn as developers. Just because something's popular right now doesn't mean we can all make one. Otherwise, 95% of them are bound to fail. I would say they're still bound to fail anyway at this point. The Battle Royale games for the next 10 years have already been locked in, I think.
Yeah, any third party game I think is lost their player count exponentially.
Yeah. So, like, the amount of time that development wise took, like, that had to eat into their budget, time, effort, whatnot. And I know there's a studio thing where EA is just going like, Battle Royales make money, put one in there. Well, saw how that went. And then 2042 had like the portal mode or whatever. Um, that one sounded a little bit cooler, admittedly, but like it's still another mode they had to develop. And then 2042 didn't even get a campaign.
No, I hated that. I hated them not having a campaign.
I think as developers, you need to like developers and studios and publishers and all of these levels need to understand you have to have a business strategy with anything, business wise, but especially game development where you go, we're going to hit these things and we're good. And then if it's successful, we'll add another thing as a DLC, or like if Battlefield 5 came out and then they're like, yeah, a year later, they're like, here's Firestorm, where we developed the main game enough to where the main game was fun and then here's just another thing you can do because the studio wants us to try to get some more incentive for people to stay on and make money. But you can't be distracted during your core development. And then 2042, you lost one of the core modes. Like
That I'm feeling. I'll still go back through on Battlefield 4 and play the campaign.
yes, yes,
Love
great
that
campaign.
campaign.
Start with your car in the river.
I know everyone like loves 3, but I'm just not too attached to 3.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people who have like a very high affinity for that one, where versus me, it's like 4, Bad Company 2, that kind of stuff. Oh, and Hardline.
Hardline would do better if it wasn't than I have Battlefield attached to it.
Yep. If Dice just released a game called Hardline and that was it, I guarantee you we would have had a sequel to it by now. But they're just like, this wasn't a Battlefield game. I was like, admittedly, you're right, but
That's what you wanted it to be, and it didn't really fit.
because when you brand a game with a certain, or you brand anything with like a notifiable name, people assume it's going to be similar to the other things with that name, and that's how it works. It's like how like there's a lot of projects in like TV and movies that I think just have like a name slapped on them to draw in attention. Like I don't think the Halo show started as a Halo show. I think that kind of got added in later. I think it was originally just like some generic sci-fi show. They're like, this isn't going to sell. Put Halo on it. Like reshoot some things.
Yeah, I could say the same with Far Cry Primal.
Yeah,
That game, I didn't really care for it, even with it being a Far Cry game. But to throw it into the Far Cry universe, kind of weird.
right. But
Especially
it's
with
definitely weird.
Far Cry being like this crazy, you get a ton of explosives and you go blow up everything. And now you have sticks and stones.
Yeah, no, it's definitely strange when like the perception of Far Cry has always been, at least for me, it's like trapped in paradise, anarchy ensues. Like you're on an island, you're in the mountains with pagan men, whatever, and like yeah, here's a rocket launcher, go blow up that outpost, liberate 9 radio towers, that kind of stuff. It's like, and admittedly, the formula needs to change for Far Cry, but Primal didn't do like anything like that. Yeah, it's literally like, look, a mammoth, throw your spear at it. Yay.
Die by it because you're not going to kill it without help.
Right. like if Primal would have been again not a Far Cry game, but like a 4-player co-op PvE game,
That
that
would
I
have been
think could
fun.
have worked.
I
Like
would
it could have a
I would enjoy
story.
that.
Yeah, you're in a tribe. You need to take out this rival tribe leader or something. So like, there's still a narrative, but it's got like gameplay that's more. I don't want to say akin to Ark because maybe there wouldn't be like base building or anything like that. But like, you'd have to make your spears, stuff like that, sharpen your spearheads, that kind of. I think that'd be fun. I'd play that.
I think a lot of people would. I think we're kind of getting back into an age of survival crafting games,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wish more of them would come to Xbox.
Sons of the Forest is set to allegedly. Um, Wait to
Yep.
wait. Apparently, again, because the Series S exists and it's an ankle weight on our production line, apparently. But I appreciate what Xbox is trying to do for those people, but at a certain point, I want them to realize they should never do that again. Like,
Right? We've had so many games get delayed coming to Xbox because of it. Most
yeah,
notably Baldur's Gate.
right.
4 month 4 month period of us not even being able to play it.
Which that one was weird because they said the only thing that they couldn't get working on the Series S was local co-op, and I was like, first of all, I don't even know who would be playing the game like that. If I'm being completely honest, that sounds atrocious to play that game split screen. Um, or if it's just you're stuck on the same camera and you're kind of tethered to each other. Um, but even to not just say like, what's that?
So that's what I would assume. Like it's kind of like the Lego Star Wars games,
Oh yeah,
not the newer ones where the camera would split and you could go do your own thing. Well, like how
hmm
you were just all stuck. One person
right.
couldn't move until the next person did.
Yeah, and even if it is that, that's very limiting for a game like that. So I don't know, like to not even just be able to go, hey guys, we're releasing it, just so you know, on Series S, this functionality does not work right now. So we're sorry. So if you're looking to play it local co-op, you're gonna have to wait another couple months. I don't see anything wrong with that. If we're gonna release like these little, like these small upgrade consoles or this small way to get into the Xbox ecosystem, it should not come out with the main console, the main hardware. Because Series X came out what 3 years ago now, right?
Yep.
So
It's going to be for this year.
okay, say this Black Prism, the obelisk, is going to be turning 4 this year, and I would say like maybe so 2 years ago, so in between when it came out and now, then the Series S comes out where they're like, hey, if you didn't buy a Series X but you're interested in getting into the gaming ecosystem, you're not a hardcore gamer, here you go. Because by then most people would have already just bought the X, and then the S can have just a limited run where, yeah, if you're not big into gaming, if you don't need a disk drive, if you don't need the power that the X provides, then here you go. It's $300. Again, it's weaker, doesn't have a disk drive, but you can play modern titles. You can play all the Xbox catalog, your Halos, your Gears, and whatnot. Not a dual launch because I think that kind of hinders everything.
Yeah, I hope when Xbox releases their next gen console, it's just one.
Yeah.
Just have one release.
Like, I
Keep it.
don't know what was wrong with the system we did because, like, you had the Xbox One, which, again, notoriously ugly. I hated mine. Um, that literal brick size power, like AC adapter, whatever, on the cord was a nightmare. Just didn't really meet what we needed it to do. Then they had the Xbox One X, which I did get, and I'll tell you right now, that was actually a nice console. I liked that one. It was smaller. It didn't have the brick. It was quiet for the most part up until like the last little bit of its life. Then it was, it was breathing a little heavy, but then I got the Series X, so it didn't matter. But like I think that's the way to go where you launch a console, then like a couple years into its life cycle, you launch like a pro version, which is like it's a slight upgrade. This one's price can drop. I think that's kind of how you have to navigate that system versus if we come around the corner, it's the PlayStation 6, the Xbox Scorpio Rising or whatever, and then here's also the Xbox Series L, and it's this little dumpy version which has like a fourth of the power, no disc drive. It's like, why are we doing that? I mean, I get why, but that's just because Xbox wants to get everyone on a subscription. They want you playing Game Pass anywhere you can, and that's their whole mentality. But
Because while Game Pass hasn't delivered the highest hitters lately, it is still a really good deal.
yeah, Game Pass is the definitive deal in gaming, especially compared like the first of all the PlayStation tiers impossible to understand. I know we're not part of that ecosystem currently, but like if you've ever looked at them, it's like premium pro, premium ultimate, premium platinum. Like it's like there's so many different tiers for no reason.
It doesn't seem right to me. Like you have your premium, you have your standard, and then you have like your beginner.
Right. Or like Xbox, we simplified ours. Unfortunately, we lost the term Xbox Live Gold, which when they announced that, it still hurts me a lot because like I remember distinct memory of getting my first gift card for 3 months of Xbox Live Gold, and that's was bright across in orange gold, and I was like, oh, I can play online. Like this is awesome. Booted it up, entered the code, and like so that's so ingrained in my terminology for Xbox. It does suck having it gone, but we dropped it and went from there being Gold, Game Pass, Game Pass Ultimate. There's Game Pass Core, which replaced Gold with some added perks. You now have a limited Game Pass catalog just for having Gold, which is awesome. That's a really cool feature. And then, so you have Core, and then you have Ultimate. That's it. So we even simplified. We only had 3 to begin with, and I'm pretty sure they have like 4.
Just makes it easy for everyone.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, oh, your Core, your Ultimate. That's it. Simplify, especially for like if you're getting gifts from like your grandparents or whatever. They're like, I got you an Xbox gift card. It's like, well, that could either mean you got me Game Pass, you got me Gold, or you got me like the gift cards, like the true, currency, old Microsoft points, which I still miss also, but whatever. I'll be bitter about it in my own time. But yeah, it's just Game Pass is such a great deal. There's so many games I got to play last year that I probably wouldn't have without Pass. I mean, stuff like I got to play that game Cocoon, which is like a fun puzzle game. Like I probably would have gotten around to it eventually, but since it was on there, I was playing it like day one. So it's a nice way to try out games, which is also good for small game devs, which typically have their works put on there pretty frequently. So it helps everyone.
Right. But I think that's where we're going to wrap up today's episode. Be sure to go check out the other episodes if you haven't already. And try to share it to everyone you know. We'd love to have everyone listening.
That's right. Show it to your grandma.
But, as always, thanks for watching. I'm Harmon, joined alongside
your boy, Andrew.
And this has been episode 5 of Split Screen Gaming. See ya.
See ya.